Hello, everyone. I was having a really great conversation with one of my good friends over the weekend, and he was telling me that him and his wife have a very different story than everybody else. He said, "We have a fairy tale romance, unlike anybody else, not like anybody that you work with, Stephanie." And he was telling me how wonderful it was. And I said, isn't that interesting? Isn't it? And he does. He's very happily married. Things are very good in their relationship, but it started off a little bit rocky. And when he said, "We're not like the other people in your group," it really got me thinking, what is the difference? What is the difference? Don't we all want the fairy tale? I mean, raise your hand, say me in the comments if you wanted the fairy tale. Did you want that fairy tale magical relationship where someone was going to come and sweep you off your feet and everything was going to be wonderful in the relationship? I think we all want that. I think what one of the things is that when we are looking to have a relationship, what we have been taught is that there's got to be some kind of adversity. Like watch any Hollywood movie, right? In Hollywood movies, there's always some kind of adversity to overcome in order for the relationship to be beautiful and be wonderful. You get to the end, you get to that happy ending at the end. But for many of us, for some reason, we start off with this, everything is a fairy tale, everything is beautiful. And then instead of having that happily ever after, instead we have the nightmare. And then we try everything we can to go back to the happy part, the fairy tale part. So what is the difference? What is the difference between the people who have the happily ever after and the people who have the nightmare afterwards? So this is what I want to talk about today. And if this is you, please let me know in the comments that this is resonating for you, because I think that this is something that's really important for us to realize so that we can maybe choose differently in the future. So the first thing is that overcoming adversity, we have to be really specific with what that is. Overcoming adversity might be, it might be that someone had to move while you were starting to date. It might be that someone had a health issue. It might be something else that you're looking to overcome. Maybe you had a difference of opinion on, maybe political or, something like that. Okay, that might be an adversity. Adversity is not overcoming someone treating you badly. Adversity is not you fighting for someone who is cursing at you, screaming at you, putting you down, putting you in abusive situations. That is not an adversity to overcome. What that is instead is what causes trauma bonding. So the more adversity that we have, negative adversity, we get trauma bonded, we get sucked in to try to prove our worth to the other person and make them want us more. So then that starts going into that nightmare zone, the trauma bonding, because we're trying so hard to overcome the adversity of them not treating us well, giving us a little bit of breadcrumbs and not really getting anything out of it. All right. So that's number one. Number two, both people have to want it. Both people have to be ready to go above and beyond to make the relationship work. What I hear from my clients all the time is that they are the only ones doing anything to make the relationship work. They're frustrated with their significant other because they're the only ones going to therapy. They realize that their significant other is the one that has a drug problem, but they don't want to get help. And, all of these other things that are going on, they're the only ones that are working on it. That's not going to build a healthy relationship. You're never going to create that happily ever after if it's just you doing the work. So that's number two. And I see someone saying, "I'm crying because this is so me and I hate it." I'm sorry, Maisha, but this is, and I apologize that you're dealing with that, but hopefully stick around because I think this is going to be helpful. Another one is, both know who they are and what they need for themselves in a relationship. So again, you want that happily ever after. What is it that you need in a relationship? Who are you as a single person? What do you want out of the relationship? And being able to talk about it. And we'll get more into that in a second. So who are you? What are your wants and needs in a relationship? Both people have to be aware of who they are when they start the relationship. The next one, both people have to have the ability to communicate their wants and needs. They have to be able to communicate their wants and needs. So it's one thing to be able to know who you are and what you need, but you also have to be prepared to communicate it. We can't passively live in this life. We can't just assume that other people will know what we need. And for those of you who are saying, yes, but when I do try to communicate, they treat me badly, they make me feel bad. Okay, well, already that is the nightmare scenario. That's not going to be the happily ever after. If they're cursing at you, screaming at you when you're trying to tell them what your wants and needs are, this is already not a healthy relationship. This is already not going to go to the happily ever after. So you should be able to, in any healthy relationship, we should be able to communicate our wants and needs with the other person listening as well. We need to listen. They need to listen. So communicating wants and needs is more than just about us telling them what we need. It's about us listening to them in what they need. So it goes back and forth. And when we know who we are genuinely, it's much easier to listen to the other person and also be able to speak what our needs are as well. The last one that I'm going to share with you is that we need to also allow the other person to be who they are without controlling who they are. When they show us who they are, believe them. Don't try to change them. You know, I had someone yesterday say, you know, I've been working on myself, and then I tried to give my significant other a book so that he could work on himself too. Well, don't do that. Maybe he doesn't want to work on himself. Maybe that's not something he wants. We are responsible for ourselves, and it's going to feel really uncomfortable for our partners if we are telling them what they should do. If we are telling them how they should be. That's not going to be comfortable. That's not going to be a happily ever after because the other person is going to shut down. And a lot of times we're controlling because we're good-hearted, wonderful people. We see maybe somebody else where they could do better, or we see the possibility or the potential in that person to do more, but they're not. So we want to tell them what they need to do to make it better, but that's not on us. That's not why we have a relationship. So happily ever after means you go down your road and you do your thing and take care of you while actively communicating your wants and needs, and the other person actively communicating theirs, both wanting the best for not only themselves, but each other. And when you are feeling like, hey, this is not working, if things get bad where communication is lost and there's no way to reconnect, then we have to think about other options for ourselves. So we have to remember that the happily ever after doesn't just happen because we want it to. If we want to get to that happily ever after, there's work that we need to do on ourselves, get real clarity on what our wants and needs are, be able to openly communicate what our wants and needs are, and then allow the person who we've fallen in love with to be them, to show them who they really are, show us who they really are without trying to change or manipulate who they are as a person. So if you want that happily ever after, definitely need to follow those tips. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Thanks for coming on and hanging out. And I will see you inside the group. And by the way, if you're looking for help with communicating and you're looking for help in changing some of these behaviors where you might have been getting stuck in, just comment help in the comments and someone from my team will reach out to you and help you.